Elevate TV, advancing kingdom lifestyle.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Gigi Report. I'm glad you're tuned in. Welcome, and please share the links with your friends. We are live on Facebook, Elevate TV Kenya, and on YouTube, Elevate TV Kenya. So no reason whatsoever not to enjoy the show if you're not watching us live on TV. We are on Elevate TV. Very good. I welcome you again. Like I always do, this is the Gigi Report. And as you know, the Gigi Report is a platform where we go into big, bold conversations, honest conversations on a broad range of subject matters, social, political, economic, theological, philosophical, and whatever. And today we have something amazing, an interesting story from a very special guest on the show, and I'm going to be introducing her to us. Welcome, Tanita Hightower.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
Most welcome, most welcome. So I'm going to introduce my guest a little bit more, and then I'm going to tell you what we're going to be talking about today. Basically, I think there is a big conversation to be had. Our topic is how to journey to the wealth place, and these are not my own words. These are the words of my guest. So I'm going to ask her to really tell us what this is all about. She is known as the Wealth Professor, and she's a coach and consultant, and she has a big story on how to make a difference. So my guest is Tanita Hightower, and she has this central message called Journey to the Wealth Place, and she has inspired a lot of many people. So we're going to be hearing her story today. Welcome to the show.
Yes, thanks.
Glad to have you.
I'm glad to be here. Appreciate
Very well. Yeah, so I was introduced to you by a friend, Dr. Ruben West, who I've had on this show.
Yes.
And so he told me, bringing along here in Nairobi, Kenya, a wonderful team of wonderful speakers, international speakers, coaches, consultants. And I thought, yeah, good to have you here. Very well.
Yes.
So let's start by you telling us about your early years growing up in the U.S. And what inspired you to what you're doing today.
Growing up was not your typical childhood, you know. So I was born premature. So I had a lot of challenges when I was growing up, you know, physical challenges.
Okay.
So I had encephalitis, which is the swelling of the brain at the age of 2. So the diagnosis wasn't, well, the doctors said, or didn't give me a good outlook. However, God said differently.
Okay.
The diagnosis was that I was supposed to not be able to walk, but
look at you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're here.
But through physical therapy from the age of 4 to about 16 or 17 years old, I relearned how to walk and began to learn how to adapt, because I still have some limitations, but nothing that will hinder.
All right.
So I would say my growing up was a little bit different. So my beginning was very unique, untraditional.
All right.
But God
But God.
But God design. Yeah.
Yes. Is this your first time in Africa?
It
in
is
Kenya
my
in particular?
very first time in Africa, first
Okay.
time in Kenya.
Okay, very good. America is a big place. So
Yes.
where did you grow up?
I grew up in Ohio, in a little northeast Ohio, so near Cleveland. It's Youngstown, Ohio, an old steel mill town.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
and
so a
that's-
lot of poverty, a lot
Uh-huh.
of depression because of the decline of the steel mills, which was the industry of that particular area. So then the crimes and a lot of desolation has taken over because of the lack of jobs and things after the decline of the steel mills.
Okay. Okay, so that's where you grew up.
Yes.
And do you still live there?
I do not. I live now in Atlanta, Georgia, which is south.
Yes.
South.
Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta.
Yes, we hear a lot of stories. I haven't been to America myself, but I hear a lot of stories, and so that's a good thing.
Yes.
So one of these days, you're going to put me in your handbag.
Oh, absolutely. You're more than welcome.
As long as you don't tell them what you're carrying. Yeah, so amazing. So, you started off early on. You're battling some of these physical limitations.
Yes.
How are your parents? How did you grow with both of your parents? How are you treated?
My parents divorced when I was about in the third grade, so I was fairly young, like 9 or 10 years old.
Okay.
So my mom was a single mom. I'm the oldest of 7.
Okay.
So a lot of times, where you're trying to figure out how to make ends meet.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was that portion of, having, being in that environment. You learn how to adapt and adjust to lack.
Okay.
Yeah.
And fight it. As a firstborn, that's a privileged position, and of course calls for
Oh,
responsibility.
I wear with pride.
Yeah. You tell everyone what to do
Absolutely,
around,
I
in
do.
the house.
Absolutely.
Yes. That's a good thing. Okay, that's very, very nice. How about your education? Did you study? What did you study? And how far have you taken that?
I had my undergrad in physical therapy.
Okay.
My desire was to go back and teach those what I had learned from my experiences.
Yes.
But I went back and got my master's in business, and then I'm working on my PhD in business right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story. So you did an MBA or what?
Yes, I have an MBA.
Ah, wonderful. So two of us. I have an MBA, you have an MBA. So this MBA stuff, all right? So
Yeah, all right.
we can now talk business.
Talk business, let's do it.
Big time, right? Oh, wonderful, wonderful. How was it at university? Bachelor's, how was the atmosphere at university? Which university did you go
I
to?
went to the Ohio State University, Columbus, Ohio.
Wow. Great place, right?
Absolutely.
So how was it like,
It was pretty good. The experience that I had there was I had a full ride scholarship there.
Okay.
So I didn't have the worries of the finances then, but I don't think I appreciated it. So I kind of blew my scholarship a little bit. Just having the first time of being on my own and having the responsibility without the knowledge of how to handle finances and the freedom. So I kind of wasted that opportunity a little bit. Once the money ran out, then I got in gear and realized that, okay, now because I'm paying for this out of pocket, I had a different appreciation for the education I was getting.
Okay.
I started going to class.
Okay. All right. And
Yeah.
but you pushed yourself and
Absolutely.
graduated.
Oh, yes.
Very
Yeah,
good.
Yeah.
Very good. That's amazing. That's amazing. Wow.
But what was interesting, in high school, all the way up through high school, I was a straight A student. So I graduated as valedictorian. So I assumed that I could do the same in college, not study and just go to class and just retain the information that the professor was giving. However, that doesn't work that way at the university level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So you got to university, you had this, you were so confident of your
Absolutely.
ability to hack things up,
Yeah.
and study and all that. and then you discovered things were different.
Yeah, it backfired.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Wonderful. I think that's a very, very inspiring story. I think we all have our own stories in
Yes.
terms of, I think when we are growing up, we don't take things seriously. You
Right.
know? I think there's that sense of, look, kind of like we assume the privileges and maybe even for example, a scholarship, and you know, not taking seriously that somebody has, you know, has to, you know, given you that gift.
Yes.
So that then you can enjoy your university.
Absolutely.
And that's amazing. Okay, very good. MBA. Did you? How was the? You know, how was you? Did you work before going into MBA, or you finished your bachelor's then went to?
No, there was a space in between. So when I graduated with my physical therapy degree,
Yes.
I couldn't pass or did not pass the licensure. So in America, you have to have a physical therapy license to practice.
Okay.
And I was unsuccessful in passing that exam.
Okay.
So after several tries, I think it was like I took it 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
I realized that, okay, maybe this is not what God has designed for me to do. So through prayers, like, okay, maybe I need to go into another field because I needed to start working, started paying for the student loans that I had at that point.
Yes.
And decided on to business because I have I would call it a gift for numbers and calculating and doing those things. So I kind of looked into the finance and business field, and so I went back to obtain my MBA, my business.
All right. And then after that, you got a job, I guess?
Yes, I was working for an insurance company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. So, did you become like the CEO or something like that?
I wish.
How was that? And how long did you work, you know, in the insurance company?
I worked there maybe almost 10 years there.
Okay.
But what was interesting during that time, I ended up, well, you call it CEO, but I was moving up in a different way. Like they put me on a manager's track.
Okay.
So I was working and learning different skills, but what I found, you know, they wanted me to go into the manager, but I found it better for me to be amongst the workers and the people.
Right.
So I ended up always doing the training.
Okay.
And ended up in the teaching roles at the university and more training on work ethic, the rules of the insurance, teaching them the processes, and even some of the software.
Okay.
So I kept, even though it wasn't my responsibility, I was good at it, and I kept being put into that role. So I started feeling my passion and my gift for teaching.
All right.
So I started pursuing that more with more passion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe I guess that's what now has inspired you to pursue the PhD. Is that,
yes.
Yes.
Well, that came along a little bit later because that was probably like several years later because I found that I do have a knack for teaching.
Okay.
Because after the insurance company, the company I was working for was bought out and merged into another company. So my position that I held was there were my job was in 3 different states, so the states merged.
Okay.
So they had to pick one, and I
Okay.
wasn't one that was chosen, so someone else was. So I found myself, restarting again with another career. So I looked at the teaching. I started teaching at the community college. I was teaching like first year, so study skills, the GED, the test prep.
Right.
And so I found myself again with that passion to teach.
Okay.
So the pursuant or the desire to get the PhD is you get better jobs because I get, unless you have the PhD, so you get the leftover basically jobs as an adjunct. So,
Okay, okay.
So I ended up teaching like the business classes, the GED, those, but I wanted to pursue more sustainable type of career. So
Right.
that's why the pursuant of the PhD.
Very good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Very good. I hope you're following this story. Taonita Hightower, born in Ohio.
Absolutely.
Amazing, amazing. America is a great place, Taonita, I tell you.
Yeah.
We all want to come to America.
Come on.
Although, you know, I guess American sounds like they want to leave. No, I don't know.
Well, Kenya is a very wonderful place right now. So, I'm ready to, my bags are in the hotel and packed. I might just send for my children.
How did you find your purpose? How did you knit the threads to come to the place where you'd say, I think now I'm pursuing my purpose?
Well, for me, I believe that your purpose shouldn't be difficult. Mm-hmm. So it's easy. It's something that comes natural for you to do. Teaching comes natural for me.
Right.
Physical therapy didn't.
Okay.
And for a lot of reasons. First, I think I pursued it just to prove that I can do it because I had the illnesses when I was younger.
Yeah.
I was, trying to overcome it by, with the accolades and to validate, okay, look, I was ill and sick, so I'm going to become a physical therapist to show others, but that wasn't God's plan, that was my plan. Mm-hmm. And once I aligned with His, things became easier. Mm-hmm. So that's how it went from physical therapy to business, which I'm gifted at numbers and understanding contracts and all of those things that pertain to business. But then teaching is also a gift, and I believe my calling.
Right. I love that. I love that because somehow by God's divine provision, you were able to, kind of steer back to where you're gifted, where, your core gifts, like good in numbers. You did very well in high school.
Yes.
University, well, of course, you kind of were overconfident.
Yes, a little bit.
And kind of like, so stumbled around. And I guess you are young as well.
Yeah.
So like all young people, there are some young people watching us here. So I want to remind them that, you get to a place where you're full of yourself, and you have grand ideas of what you can do. Yeah. And this is my life. I'm going to do it my way.
Do it my way.
Yes, exactly. And then you become blind to what you're really good at.
Yes.
And so you kind of began to see this unfolding.
Yes.
And now you believe you're in a good place. Wonderful,
Absolutely.
wonderful, wonderful.
It's the journey.
It's the journey.
Yeah.
Where did you draw your inspiration and influence?
I think it was a combination of influence from different people in my life
Right.
at different points.
Yes.
Growing up, I had my mom and my grandparents telling me that you're gifted, or would instill in me that that you have a call on your life. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand it then. Mm-hmm. So that was always in the back of my mind.
Okay.
And then when I got to college, had a roommate who was significantly influencing me and connecting with my calling and relationship with God. She was instrumental in sharing the gospel with me so that I can pursue it, not just by, because I got, accepted the Lord, I was young. Mm-hmm. Then went to college, I was in my 20s, but I really started to develop my relationship with God at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, so she was instrumental to provide me with some more spiritual depth.
Okay.
And then from there, there's been people that the Holy Spirit will bring into my life that will kind of redirect or guide me along that journey.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's profound. That's wonderful. Yeah. So, and you know, what you're saying is very interesting, that sometimes you can be influenced by someone who is, basically, you're in the same place, but this person seems to have a kind of a deep sense of, you know, kind of, they have a deep sense of who they are, and then they can see you're stumbling around, and then they kind of steer you and, you know, help you straighten out
absolutely.
your life. Yeah. So, although you had known the Lord when you were young, but this person helped you, you know, kind of put it all together. Can you tell us a little bit more about that spiritual experience?
Oh, wow.
That, you know, like, it may not have been a one-off, but somehow, how did you begin to shift and find your depth in God?
Yeah, during that time, I think I was secretly seeking him, to know him better, because my life was kind of, again, chaotic. I was failing, losing my scholarship, having to figure out how to tell my mom that we're going to have to figure out how to pay for the rest of my schooling. So a lot of things was stressing me out, and, you know, financially strapped, you know, didn't have a job. I'm a college student, and then, but she has such a peace about her. You know, I kept watching her, and her witness before me was, you know, so unique. So I kept watching, and so I had asked, you know, what is it about you that's different? And then she started sharing, but not, you know, I didn't want to admit that I needed help. So I just kind of would ask questions here and there. And her family is extremely spiritual. So her uncle was a prophet, and every year on his birthday, he would invite the family out to prophesy over them, to continue the legacy and just kind of share and gather the family together. So this particular year, his birthday was coming up, and she invited me along.
All right.
So he was able to, again, and I'm around all of these spiritual people. And they all began to minister to me.
Okay.
And that was kind of like the defining moment where there's something real about this, as opposed to me just kind of flipping through the Bible and just say, okay, memorizing only one verse, but knowing and having that true relationship with God.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a real amazing story. So that really gave you the direction. And you began to shift. And that's how then you know, you actually stabilize. You're able to finish college and graduate. And even though you struggled in, you know, getting your certification in physical therapy thing, which may be good that you didn't go in that direction. And then through the, you know, I believe God just guided you back to really where you're most strong at. You're very good in numbers. You have a business mind, and here you have this amazing opportunity to, you know, take that to the next level. And God intervened and helped you that. Wonderful. The reason why I'm actually like bringing this up to Anita is because it's the background on which now you come into. Now you have become an international speaker. Have you had any training in that? Are you on a training program? I think Dr. Ruben West must be. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm a student, Dr. Ruben West, and through his programming, he has helped develop the gift that's already in there, and then help you present the gift that was already in. So I am a recent graduate. I'm in his latest class, which has been phenomenal. You know, I've already had experience preaching and teaching, but it's different when you're trying to motivate or encourage or inspire people. So he's taught me the techniques and the skills to do that and bring my speaking profession on an international scale, whether than from church to church, locally at home.
Okay. And that's going well?
Oh, absolutely.
Are you happy?
Well, we are here.
That's how you managed to come along.
Absolutely.
And very good. So we're going to go into that as we, you know, we are wrapping up this first part. I believe you're following this story, and maybe you have questions. On the social media platforms, you're free to drop your question on the links on the Facebook or Twitter. You can make a comment, and then tell us what you think about this program and what the kind of help that you're finding from this conversation. So. Then you discovered this amazing story, and I'm only introducing it, and we're going to go into it when we come back from the break.
Sure.
Where you began to find that you have a very big story to talk about wealth and how to build wealth.
Yes.
So is that part of what you've discovered after the training and the coaching from this speaking and engagement?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of everything.
Yes.
We're talking about the journey to the wealthy place.
Yes.
And the wealthy place is God ordained, but how do you get there?
Yes.
And so from my life experiences, I understand that there is a road that we have to go through, or a journey per se. My path to where I am now hasn't been easy or straight. There's been some bumps and curves and different things like that. And some people struggle on how to navigate, or they might get stuck when they didn't pass, or they didn't accomplish what they thought they were going to accomplish, or if they lost a scholarship like I did, or lost their way. But what I'm finding that everyone has their own road to take and things to overcome. And but we can overcome, and God uses the journey to teach us the lessons, to bring us to that wealthy place. And the wealthy place, a lot of people think it's monetary.
Okay, good. A lot of people think it's monetary.
Yes.
But it's a different thing.
It is a different thing.
And you're going to tell us about that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. So we're going to go to a short break. And when we come back, I'm going to ask to Anita to tell us what is that wealthy place, and how different is it, and how do you get there? This is an amazing story. So please don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We're coming back shortly.
The call to undertake outreach will require that we be mentored.
When a church is not reaching out, when a believer is not reaching out, that church is dying and that believer is dying.
Literally discipling people, making a difference, being salt and light,
And what is the heart of God? It is for us to keep on asking ourselves, why does the church exist?
Wow, why does the church exist?
To the extent then, you ask yourself, why are you a pastor?
Welcome back to this episode of the Gigi Report. We are having a conversation here with my guest, Toanita Hightower, born in Ohio, USA. She has an amazing story, and she is a wealth professor. So that's something. And Toanita, before we went to the break, you're telling us the journey to a wealthy place.
Yes.
And I like the fact that you're defining that place different way, because when somebody hears journey to the wealthy place, they're thinking, oh, you're going to tell us about how to use maybe all these technologies to make money now, become millionaires in the next 24 hours.
That's it.
But tell us about, so define again for us this journey to the wealthy place. What is that place? And then how do we grow from there? Right.
As you mentioned before, that we all have a journey, we all have a road to take, but it's leading us to not a place of monetary, but it's a place of self-awareness, confidence, and mindset.
Okay.
In the scriptures, in I think it's Exodus, the children of Israel had to leave Egypt to go into Canaan, but they had to leave the slave mentality. So in order for them to inherit what God had promised them, they couldn't take that same mentality with them. So this journey to a wealthy place is to show you who you really are, who God ordained you to be, and how you can walk in that with fullness, not necessarily still thinking about the lack, the things that you were missing, but understanding what God had already laid out and promised for you.
Okay. Okay, I love that. I love that. And especially when you talk about the story of the children of Israel and escaping slavery.
Yeah.
I think we all have our story, our Egyptian story.
Yes.
A place where we were in bondage.
Yes.
A place of, where we are limited, very constrained.
Yes.
We're not in charge of our own destinies. And maybe we haven't even found how we can get out of it,
right,
until Moses came to the scene. And so you're saying in the same way, we have those sort of the same kind of dilemmas as we are coming out. But what's the role, the place of vision? How do you develop a vision for this place that you come to?
For the wealthy place?
To the wealthy place.
Well, it depends on where the person is along their journey. Because at the beginning, they wanted to go out. But then a couple of times as they were in that journey, they wanted to go back. So you have to understand where you are in order to redirect them to their final destination, their final understanding of themselves and their purpose.
Okay. Now, you said there is a place of, did you say mindset?
Yes.
There are three things you've mentioned.
Mindset, self-confidence, and purpose.
Okay. So break that down for us. So let's start with purpose, then mindset, and then confidence.
So a sense of purpose, it brings you wealth, because when you're doing things out of purpose, then provision comes. So it's not that you're chasing money, but you're doing it on purpose, whether it's to serve people, whether it's to minister to others like me. I do coaching and consulting. Because I'm now in purpose, instead of pursuing money or the accolades, the PhD, those types of things, now money is coming. Because now I'm in purpose, so purpose comes for provision, to provide or make the opportunity available for others.
Okay.
But but when I'm pursuing money, it won't come.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's purpose.
That's purpose.
The other one is there was
confidence or
confidence.
self-awareness.
Yeah. Let's talk about confidence.
Yeah.
I imagine that for you even just to have the confidence to come to Africa. I know that. So the place of confidence.
Yeah. Just knowing, one, that God is with you, and along the journey. The children of Israel, when they first left, they didn't have confidence. They felt more comfortable back in Egypt. So during that process of walking along the journey, they began to build that relationship with him, or at least they should have. Because out of 2.4 million people, only 2 achieved that confidence, Caleb and Joseph.
Yes.
The rest of them never came out of that slavery mindset.
And that's real. So at what point did you begin to develop your own confidence? I mean, given the story, you worked in the corporate sector, you discovered your teaching skills, you're doing like everyone else, just fine, going through the system, and then you also discovered your teaching skills.
Yes.
Did you struggle with your confidence in those areas, or were you just flowing,
No. That's funny. And I laugh because confidence was probably the hardest thing I struggled with.
Right.
Because of the limitations that I had, and I didn't like people looking at me, and the limitations I had with my walking. And then when I got to college, failing. So my self-confidence was non-existent in some areas at some times. And I think it wasn't until I totally surrendered to God, which was probably maybe about 3 years ago.
Okay.
And when I just threw my hands up and allowed him to have his work in me, so walking me through my journey and really not fighting against it like the children of Israel wanting to go back to Egypt. Okay, let's finish this journey. and through that, it wasn't easy.
Right.
But as I guess surrendered to the process.
Right.
I was able to understand that the confidence isn't in me at all.
Right.
It's in him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's profound. I'm very, very inspired by that. Because I think there are a lot of people, who they have their own stories, very limiting circumstances. Of course, if we talk about poverty and lack of opportunities here in Africa, we're just talking, the truth. I mean, that's the way it is.
Yes.
Many people in Africa don't have the kind of opportunities that we think that you guys in the West have. We think, but now you tell us, it can be in your hands, and you can waste it.
You can waste it.
Yes, you can waste it. So you can have opportunity, but you have to know it, and you have to take advantage of that opportunity.
Absolutely, and that speaks to the others that didn't make it over to the promised land. Only 2 made it from that original group of Egyptians or Israelites that left. Caleb and Joshua were the only 2 that crossed over and made it.
Yes, exactly. Other than the confidence and that sense of purpose and the conviction, what else do you think is needed for you to really begin to build that place where your life is beginning to take direction?
Obedience.
Obedience.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
The Bible talks about, if thou art willing and obedient, then you'll eat the fruit of the land. So everything in the scriptures is relying on you being obedient to what he's saying to do.
Okay.
And we can choose to obey or not. But obedience is the key to you walking through each step of the wealthy place.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obeying God and to what He's telling you and the place He's calling you to.
Yes.
That will bring you to that place, wealthy place.
Yes.
And for our viewers, we need to clarify that when we talk about the wealthy place, we're not talking about a place where, you're surrounded by money. Money is pouring on your head.
Right.
Or something like a celebrity, some of these celebrity musicians,
Yes.
they throw money in the air. So that's not what
we're
we're
not
talking about.
that.
We're talking about a place of peace, a place where you found your place, you found yourself.
Yes.
You've discovered your purpose.
Right.
That's the place, that's the wealthy place.
Right.
And that's the place you need to come to. And obedience is part of that.
It is the foundation.
The foundation.
Yeah. You have to obey.
You have to obey.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that. I love that. So now you've been to Nairobi, so you come to Kenya and Africa for the first time, you said.
Yes.
How has been your experience like?
It's been overwhelming with joy because I understand that there's a sense of purpose for me here in Africa as
Right.
well.
Yes.
But being here is me recognizing or getting in sync with that purpose.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And have you been treated well? How is the food? How is the atmosphere?
I've been treated like the royalty, and you know, I'm getting spoiled a little bit by my Kenyan brothers and sisters.
Yes. All right.
Yes. So I've been very well taken care of. Thank you.
I'm happy for that.
Yes.
All right. Have you had a chance to preach in church, or have you done your speaking engagements, and how has that gone?
I spoke Sunday.
Right.
I was at Greater Life International Center,
Okay.
Pastor Juma. And then I'll be speaking again on Friday and Saturday at Dr. Reuben West's conference, Live Your Best Life, Nairobi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yes.
And you're looking forward to that?
I absolutely am.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, that's very, very good. So there are young women watching this program, and I really don't want to go into the gender stuff, right? Because it's a big story. But there are young women that are looking for inspiration, and who also want to find their wealthy place.
Okay.
So you have a message for them. So maybe two or three things that you really feel that someone, a young woman, maybe even, so just start anywhere.
Right.
What you tell young women? What should you tell them?
Well, one, that your pain has purpose.
Your pain has purpose.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it'll bring you to an understanding of who you are and what you should be focused on. It uncovers your purpose.
Okay.
The second thing is that your words have power. So
Okay.
the things that you say, you create your current environment. So if you wanted your current situation to change your words.
Okay.
Speak, and you can create a new environment by just the words you say that align with what God's destiny and purpose is for you.
Okay.
And lastly is then deal with the unhealed hurts, unresolved issues, and unmet needs.
Okay.
And that'll release you from any fear, guilt, unforgiveness, that'll allow the blessings to come into your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's three things.
Yeah.
Your pain,
Yeah.
your words,
Yes.
and then
Release.
release.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. So if you're struggling, you want to find your wealthy place. You want to find the place where, a place where you have connected with your purpose and with God's design for your life. So you got to keep your pain behind. You got to deal with the pain. And Tuanita,
Yes.
how do you deal with pain? I mean, there are some traumatic past events or even circumstances. Like, for example, you struggled with this physical, limitation, which, thank God that there were people around you who really helped you.
Right.
And, deal with like most of it,
Yes.
So you can move around, so you managed to deal with that.
Yes.
The part of pain, how did you discover? If I continue to be, kind of nurture this pain, it's just not going to help me.
We talked about mindset earlier.
Yeah.
So it's looking at pain with a different perspective.
Right.
Not as a place of keeping me down.
Right.
But as a place of growing. When you grow, you have growing pains. So
Yes.
what is the lesson that I'm supposed to learn in this?
Right.
And then learn it, and then grow from it, grow in that place, or grow from that place.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the role of relationships that really build you up, and do you think that plays a role in helping shape your life?
Yeah, absolutely.
People's lives and purpose, and uncover what they really are?
Yeah, because I don't have all the answers. And what I found is that God will bring people who have the answers for you into your life and give you the direction and guide you. I'm thinking of like in the scriptures where there was a widow woman who needed provision or thought that things were over. It's just me and my son, we're going to die.
Yes.
And Elijah came
Yes.
and said, what do you have?
Okay.
He said, just have a little bit. He said, well, give it to me. And he gave her what to do. And it became more than enough for what she needed. So at that point, she was at her place of pain, but someone came along to show her what to do with what she had. And it became greater than what she thought.
Right.
It was just a perception.
Okay.
It was a word that had came. She changed her mindset. And she was able to sustain herself and her son just by a word from by a word from the prophet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yes, so I think that's a very good example of someone who was in great need,
Yes.
dire need,
Yes.
a mother and a son, and the famine is devastating the land.
Yes.
And here comes the prophet,
Yeah.
who began to speak into her life.
Yeah.
And so who is the prophet in your life at the moment?
Well,
You've had a couple of prophets.
I've had a couple of prophets. Yeah. And for me, I always look for or listen or pay attention because God can speak through anybody or any circumstances or any person. You know, not necessarily wear the badge of prophet, but it could be your best friend.
Yes.
Or maybe a song that'll come on that'll minister to you at that particular point to propel you to go on for the next leg of the journey. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good. That's good. And you have good mentors. I think Ruben West, you
Absolutely.
consider Ruben West as your mentor?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've had him on the show here. So
Oh, yes,
I
yes.
listen to him. He's a great guy.
He is
so
excellent,
I
yes.
think he's really helped. Let's talk about your authoring journey. You told me that you're right now writing a book.
Right, I'm writing a book.
So
Right.
tell us about that. What are you writing about?
Well, the book is going to be the journey to the wealthy place.
Yes, certainly it has to be the journey to the wealthy
Yes.
place. That's the
So
title.
Yes, I'm working on just putting it down so that others can have these same tools to walk through their own particular process and giving them insight from the lessons that I've learned out of my own life and pushing them along. Because I can't reach everybody, I can't talk to everybody, but if I can get a book in their hand, maybe they'll have that prophetic word, just like Elijah came to the woman, or the song came to me one day, or my best friend came. This book, I'm praying that it will do the same for those in those particular situations where it seems like they have no hope or no sense of purpose or lack of confidence, to push them to that next level along their journey so that they can eventually reach the place that God had ordained for them in their self-confidence, in their purpose, in their destiny.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wonderful. So that's we're looking forward to that. And so since you're very likely, are you likely to come back to Kenya so that I don't make promises here?
Look, I'm very careful about my words because I know they create. So yeah, I'm more than willing to come back.
To come back,
Yes.
yes. And give us more.
Absolutely.
So before we end, I would like to ask you about the coaching bit, the consultancy.
Okay.
Consultancy. Consultancy in this part of the world, of course, I am a consultant.
Okay.
I consult for, some of the small, medium enterprises. What's your experience in consultancy and how do you, kind of break through? I guess in the US, maybe it's easier, different, we have all kinds of ideas.
Well, my experience is I've started with small businesses and ministries and to kind of help them get started. So most of my customer base is startups.
Right.
To help them, okay, what do you need first, or how do you do it? How do they get a website, their proper paperwork that is required in the U.S. And then where do I go from here? Because they have the idea, but not the knowledge on how, or the process of how to get started. So that's where I spend most of my time doing, and kind of guiding them along their startup process and helping them establish their business and making sure that it can be sustainable for long term.
All right.
Yeah.
And how is that going? How has that gone? I mean, have you made some good money? Every consultant wants to hear,
Hit and miss, because they're startups. They have no money. However,
yes.
I feel it's more of a ministry, because what I'm understanding is that helping people fulfill their dreams is part of my purpose as well.
Right.
You know, so big money is coming.
Big money is coming.
Yeah.
Somebody out there who carrying that label, I'm a consultant, and what did you say so far, the lesson, some of the key lessons?
As a consultant, you know, we're doing most of the work.
Okay.
Or this is what you need. You know, you're paying for me to do this type of service, whether it's to build a website or guide you in it, you need this. But then I think it's the breaking free of it, because I find it's where my clients rely on me too much.
Yes.
So teaching them how to do it themselves. So
Okay.
I focus on kind of training them along the way, so that it moves from consultancy more to coaching, where
Okay.
I'm more in the background and you're on the field, as
Right.
opposed to myself, so that you can do it without me.
Okay. Yeah, and there is a huge temptation, especially when you're doing consultancy for small enterprises,
Yes.
that they become dependent on you,
Dependent, yes.
on you as a consultant.
Absolutely.
And so you find, and again, they probably don't have the capacity to pay you for every little
For
bit. and
every little
piece,
bit, right.
you do for them. So you got to kind of find a way of easing yourself off.
Out of their process, or teaching them. And I spend a lot of time showing them what the process they need to be put in place, so that they won't be reliant on me or, you know, my team.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh yeah. Talking about a team. So how many people do you have on your team of
Right now it's
consultants?
just 3, because see, I use contracted work.
Yeah.
To keep my costs low.
Okay.
So I can make my money.
Absolutely. Actually, we have run out of time. I think we're more or less like done. So those of you that are following this conversation, Tuanita is an interesting, has a very interesting story, story both of her spiritual journey, her journey to her wealthy place, and she's on this mentorship program as an international speaker, and she is here in Africa. She's already doing so well, and she has had to pull herself,
Yes.
from with her bootstraps,
Yeah, yes.
as they say, and experienced in consulting for small and medium enterprises. And I believe that you're learning something. You've learned something. You picked up some nuggets. I love the idea of how you have to really extract yourself from your clients, and you kind of manage those transitions, so that then you can be able to touch more people
Yes.
in consultancy. That's a very key lesson.
Yeah.
So one final, like parting shot.
Okay.
Okay, parting shot, and you look at that camera and tell all those young, wonderful people watching, and whoever they are, your parting shot.
I'll leave you with this thought, that all of us has a story that's already been pre-written, and all you have to do is follow God's pen.
Very good, very good. All right, so that's all we had for you today. Thank you very much for watching and staying tuned on the Gigi Report. I believe that you've learned something, and you've enjoyed the conversation. And Tuanita Hightower has been an amazing, wonderful guest on this show. And I believe that this her story will inspire you and has inspired you, to become the best you are and to find your wealthy place. So God bless you and have a great night or day wherever you are watching from. God bless you. This is your host, Godfrey Gichuki. This is the GG Report. See you another time. Bye for now.